presents a change in leadership for the city.
And I can't wait to be sworn in as the next mayor of the greatest city in the world.
The new mayor entering office as Chicago sits at a crossroads. Today, a new era begins in Chicago politics. It's the inauguration of Brandon Johnson. Now, here are Cheryl Burton and Rob Elgas.
And good morning, everybody, and welcome to Monday. Today, Chicago gets his 57th mayor. Right now, we are taking a live look inside Credit Union One Arena, where in about 2 hours, Brandon Johnson will take the oath of office. The crowd starting to arrive early this morning on Inauguration Monday. The arena at the University of Illinois at Chicago at that campus for today's inauguration ceremony. Good morning again, everybody, and welcome to our special coverage of this historic event.
That arena filling up quickly. It's been about a month since the 47-year-old beat Paul Vallis in a runoff election. Today's seen as a celebration of that achievement before Johnson gets to the hard work of leading this city through a turbulent time. We have team coverage of today's inauguration. Sarah Schulte inside the arena, Diane Patthew checking in with people as they arrive, Stephanie Wade at a pre-inauguration celebration at a Westside High School, and Leah Hope tracking the changes coming today for Chicago City Council.
Lots going on. We hope you will join us all morning and afternoon. Also joining us this morning, ABC 7 political analyst Laura Washington and Better Government Association President and CEO David Greising. Of course, we call you family, and welcome to this very special day, Inauguration Monday, of course. But let's get started, everybody, with Sarah Schulte. She is live for us tonight, this morning, in the Credit Union One Arena, where the ceremony will get underway in just about an hour. Sarah, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, Cheryl. As you can see, the arena is filling up. This was a ticketed event only. Tickets on Brandon Johnson's website. They went fast. There was even a wait list. Now, the program is scheduled to begin around 10:30. The program will kick off with a choral and orchestra arrangement. It will be followed by a dance performance by the Southside's Munto Dance Theater. And then following the national anthem, the Black National Anthem will be performed by the Walt Whitman and the Soul Children of Chicago. The invocation will be given by Reverend Dr. Otis Moss III. He is the pastor of Trinity United Church of Christ. The program also includes a poetry reading from the inaugural Chicago Poet Laureate. And as tradition goes, Brandon Johnson will be the last to take the oath. He follows the city clerk, city council, and the treasurer. Now, of course, we're all anxious to see what Brandon Johnson will say in his speech. A senior aide tells me that the speech will primarily focus on unity, bringing the whole city together. It is a common theme that he spoke about during that campaign and also during this transition period. The big question is how he's going to do that. Johnson thus far has been pretty short on details and exactly how he does plan on bringing this whole city together. Johnson's aide does tell us that he is going to get a little bit more specific in his speech about things about public safety, and we're certainly waiting to hear those plans because we really have yet so far heard real specifics. That's the latest from here, live inside the arena. Sarah Schulte, ABC 7 Eyewitness News, back to you.
All right, Sarah, we'll see you again as the program continues. We expect a packed house out at Credit Union One Arena for today's ceremony. It's going to be filled with a mix of dignitaries and members of the public.
And our Diane Patthew live for us outside the arena, where the arrivals have already started since early this morning. Diane, good morning to you on this Monday.
Good morning to the both of you, and an absolutely beautiful day here outside the arena. You saw how many people are inside. There's still hundreds of people outside waiting to get inside the arena to watch all of this unfold. Chicago's 57th mayor, along with city council members, as we talked about, getting ready to be officially sworn in this morning here at Credit Union One Arena. The line of supporters filling into this arena began very early this morning, with hundreds lining up to get in and see Brandon Johnson become Chicago's next mayor. The ceremony set to begin at 10:30 this morning. We got a chance to speak to people in line since 7 o'clock this morning. They want to not only support Johnson, but hope this is the beginning of positive changes to the city.
He's making history as a black man coming off the West Side, great credentials, and I want to see the city turn around.
There are great challenges. Let's be very real. There are great challenges. We have the migrants. We have everybody here. But if we work together and if we come together, the change can happen.
And I wanted to be a part of the whole process. We was a part of getting him elected. I want to go through the whole piece with him. To see him get inaugurated is a very special moment.
As you can imagine, security is very tight in and around the arena. A lot of people with their tickets still waiting to get in because they have to get through metal detectors along with security getting into it. So that's what the holdup is out here. Again, so many people still waiting to get in, so many people still crossing the street to get in line to get in. It's a very, very packed house here at the arena. Back to you.
A lot of excitement on this Inauguration Monday. Diane, thank you for setting the scene for us outside the arena. Brandon Johnson and his family live in the Austin neighborhood.
That's where he made his first stop this morning before heading over to the arena. Our Stephanie Wade was there, joins us from Michelle Clark High School with more. Stephanie?
Yeah, it was a very lively morning here at the Michelle Clark Magnet High School in Austin. Brandon Johnson visiting with students here on the west side where we know he's from before heading to the arena for his inauguration. Take a look. A marching band was playing here outside while students and staff were watching, as well as many elected officials and community organizers in the Austin neighborhood, including Governor J.B. Pritzker making an appearance here this morning, all to wish Johnson well before he's officially sworn in as mayor.
And so to have Mayor Johnson coming from the west side and a champion for education, it is a game changer. And so I know Ms. Gates and I talk about this. This is a historic day. It is. It is a historic day, and I think we're just going to be stronger for it. And of course, we're here to support him and to make sure he's successful.
I think the moves he's made thus far have represented his willingness to listen to all sectors of the community, and I'm optimistic about his future and, more importantly, the future of the city of Chicago.
And that was CPS CEO Pedro Martinez speaking about Johnson's connection to CPS, his history as a teacher. Martinez says his experience working as a teacher in the schools will be beneficial in the mayor's office. Back to you.
All right, Stephanie, thank you for that. We appreciate it. Let's go back to the arena where Sarah Schulte is live for us this morning. Inside, she has a special guest. Sarah.
Well, Cheryl, joining me right now is Brandon Johnson's senior advisor, Jason Lee. Jason, good morning, and big day for you.
Oh, it's a huge day, man. It's a lot of energy in this building. We had a great day visiting young people on the west side of Chicago. The enthusiasm is palatable. It's a new day in Chicago. Couldn't be more excited.
Tell me a little bit about this inauguration and kind of the theme of it, especially some of the people that are performing in the inauguration that you chose, and why you selected those people.
Well, the mayor-elect and his family were very involved in picking the artists and the performers. Wanted to have a good cross-section of Chicago to really speak to the energy of our people. The theme of the transition and the theme of this inauguration is Chicago for the people. We truly believe that the greatest asset that Chicago has is its people. We wanted to put them on display today, and that's what we hope that folks will see when they're watching at home or sitting here in the buildings.
All right, tell us a little bit about the speech. What is he going to be talking about in the speech?
Well, the speech really gets to the essence and the soul of Chicago, who we are and what we can do. This is the city of big dreams and historic achievements. And right now, more than ever, we need to rely on that history and that tradition to meet the challenges that we face. He's going to call everybody in. It's going to take all of us. So that's what he's going to talk about today.
I know a big theme for him throughout the campaign and throughout the transition period has been unity, bringing this city together. Will he kind of get into specifics and exactly how he plans to do that?
I think this speech and setting the tone for the next 4 years, setting the tone for the public. How do we come together? How do we disagree but still find a way forward? And I think that's really what we're going to be talking about today. There's going to be a lot of time to get into the nitty-gritty details, but let's set the terms of debate, which is we all love our city and we all have a role to play in making it better.
All right. Thanks, Jason. Thanks for joining us.
All right.
That is Jason Lee, senior advisor for Brandon Johnson. Back to you guys.
All right, Sarah, when I spoke with the mayor-elect over the weekend, he said at 12:01, expect some specific plans. So we'll be staying tuned for that.
Less than 2 hours.
He said 12:01. We have that on tape, all right? So, and of course, while Brandon Johnson has made his political name right here in the city of Chicago, he actually got his start in the western suburbs. Johnson was raised in Elgin as one of 10 children. He got his college degree from Aurora University as well as his master's degree, but then he moved to Chicago where he taught at 2 Chicago public schools before becoming an organizer with the Chicago Teachers Union.
In 2018, he became a Cook County commissioner, defeating incumbent Richard Boykin. Then last October, Johnson announced his intentions to run for Chicago mayor, and he announced pretty late in that field of 9. We'll tell you his most important job is being a husband to his wife Stacy and father to their 3 children, Owen, Ethan, and Braden. And now, Cheryl, you mentioned you recently had a chance to sit down one-on-one with Brandon Johnson as he prepares for probably the biggest day in his life.
Right, a monumental moment for him and his family, and I got a chance to ask him about his plans for dealing with some of the most important challenges that are facing the city. Day 1, 12:01, when he is sworn as the next mayor of the city of Chicago. In an Eyewitness News exclusive, the mayor-elect saying that he is ready for the task ahead. You got the weight of the world on you right now.
You know, the encouraging thing, though, in this moment is that the weight is being carried with a level of energy and equity that I believe we haven't seen in the city of Chicago for a very long time. So in other words, I'm not carrying the weight alone. That everywhere I've gone over the course of this transition and really throughout my campaign is that whether you are a corporate owner, CEO, or whether you are a child care provider, everyone is asking the same question: what can I do to help?
But even with all the support, the mayor-elect is well aware of the monumental task to run a world-class city and the challenges ahead. Public safety topping the list. Do you have a specific plan laid out? Like, is it typed out? Like, we can see it? You could share it with me?
So that's something that we will have available right around 12:01 on Monday. And so we are building a very comprehensive response, again, hyper-targeting neighborhoods and communities that have been historically impacted by violence. Everyone gets to play a part in developing a plan that ultimately the city of Chicago can feel good about.
We talked about several pressing issues that he will have to address on day 1, including the migrant crisis.
And so I'm grateful that we have a team of individuals that are already working with every single level of government. I was in Washington, D.C., and had a great conversation with the vice president, as well as the senior advisor to the president of the United States of America about what we need. Of course, our congressional delegation has been incredibly supportive of this transition. I'm grateful for the support of Senators Durbin and Duckworth and the entire congressional delegation, but also working with the governor, the county board president, and again, with our business community.
Another major decision: who will be the next police superintendent? So you're going to choose somebody from Chicago within the force then? Is that what I hear you saying?
What I want in a superintendent is someone who is deeply tethered to the communities of the city of Chicago, someone who understands the uniqueness of the variety that the city of Chicago has. And so they have to be, of course, compassionate, collaborative, and competent.
What kind of conversations have you had with the business community?
Yeah, it's been very positive. In fact, many of them have appreciated the fact that I've already reached out to them, because that's my nature, is to collaborate and reach out to individuals. And the business community plays an important role in our entire economy. This is still the best place in the entire country to do and to grow business. And there's not going to be a bigger advocate for businesses to want to set up shop here in the city of Chicago than me.
But what dreams did this little person have right here?
Wow. Well, as big as that collar was, apparently I was probably trying to sign up for disco fever or something. I've always wanted people who have historically been viewed as less than or unseen or unheard. I wanted their voices to be front and center.
The former school teacher and organizer for the Chicago Teachers Union is offering assurances to parents that their children will be the priority, not politics.
Well, as a parent who sends my children to the Chicago Public Schools, I don't know if there's ever been a mayor that has more of an incentive for the Chicago Public Schools to work than someone who actually relies upon the Chicago Public Schools. We're not simply trying to negotiate a contract. My responsibility and opportunity in this moment is to build a better school system That is my goal.
And when asked what a successful term as mayor would look like, he said this.
I'm going to still have my mohawk at the end of the 4 years, and there'll never be more gray hair on my head. I mean, truthfully, I think success is really going to be connected to how well we bring the city of Chicago together. And that really is going to be based on the investments that we make. That a successful 4 years means that we have invested in our public education system in a way that provides a comprehensive education system, that we would have invested in our mental health in this city. And that's important, right? You're seeing the outbreak of trauma. And because we have not treated that trauma, the type of despair that has been allowed to be the prevailing form of existence has left many of our families isolated in very despair circumstances. So those investments will ultimately determine the success of my next 4 years.
That was in response to what does a successful mayor look like in the next 4 years. And he, joked about his mohawk and that his hair would turn gray, but then he got serious about really what the people of Chicago and what his legacy will be and how important it is, because he talked about the mental health situation. His father worked at a mental health institution for many years in Elgin, so it is ingrained in his family about the value of getting mental health treatments, and he was talking about the money that he wants to spend to make sure that some of the clinics that were closed perhaps will be reopened in the coming days, because the pandemic took its toll on a lot of people, especially people who were dealing with mental health. But it was great to talk to him about his family and his wife. They've been together for 25 years, married since June 25 years ago, and they said that they were told don't get married, they were too young. But look at the life that they've provided for each other. 3 children, amazing children, and they're also coming to be the mayor. You just
mayor's family now, right?
I mean, they are the children of a mayor, and as you know, that changes your life forever. His son asked him, Dad, please, before you make the announcement, the official announcement, if you are going to run, please let me know, because I need to find out who the real people in my life are.
They're going to find out quickly who their allies and their enemies are.
In high school, and you know what it's like to be a teenager.
Sure. Well, speaking of schools and speaking of education, that theme I think resonates, because not only is he the first, not the first, but one of the few mayors who's actually had his children attend public schools, but he comes out of the public school system. He was a teacher, he was an educator. I don't think we've ever had a mayor like that before. So he's deeply steeped in education. You can't question his credentials that way. I think one of the challenges is going to be, it always comes back to money. The resources are not there. We're coming out of the pandemic where there's been a lot of regression, in fact, in terms of the education for kids. And so just one of the many steep challenges he's going to have to meet.
Officially want to welcome David and Laura. We're bookended by great experts. We always appreciate you being with us during the runoff, being with us on Election Day, and here again to talk about the inauguration of Brandon Johnson. We could talk the next 2 hours about all of the things that he's going to have to tackle as mayor. But one of the things he mentioned, David, when he accepted that he had won the mayorship, was unity, and getting the 48% or so of people who did not vote for Brandon Johnson to unify behind his plan. That is a monumental task.
Yes, and one group that he needs to put a lot of work into is the business community, because he's announced that he plans $800 million in taxes, many of them directed at businesses. And he and his staff have put a lot of work in the last few weeks since the election in making those contacts, and also to bringing some people into his administration who are known to the business community. John Roberson, his chief operating officer, previously worked at the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce, for example. He's got ties to the business community through that and some other work he's done through his time. Richard Gaitis, the chief of staff, is well known and has had positions of responsibility as well. He's reaching out across the community. Cheryl, you talked about his work in mental health. In the school system, for example, he's bringing nurses. He wants to bring nurses and social workers back into every school, saying every child in the community is entitled to such services. So he's looking at the whole city, not just the half of us who voted for him.
He talked about mental health services also for the Chicago Police Department, where, of course, he has to pick a CPD superintendent. But I also wanted to mention, when you talk about the business community, part of his transition team, he has John Rogers from Ariel, the Ariel Company. He has from Loop Capital, he has Jim Reynolds. He has a family member from the Pritzker family who is part of his transition team, along with Reverend Jesse Jackson. So he is starting his process of reaching out to the business community to decide this, as well as talking about the mental health aspect. He has to build bridges in the Chicago Police Department. And now Eric Carter, of course, today will be his last day. Fred Waller taking over, 34 years on the police force. I kind of asked him, I said, he could still be your superintendent, couldn't he?
And what did he say?
He just kind of said, Cheryl, he is the interim on May 15th. So anything is possible. You never know what might happen.
Anything is possible, but you know, mayors do their best to stay away from discussing personnel issues in public. He has not applied for the job, and the applications process is closed, so it would be unusual for that to happen. But I think that he appointed Waller because he wants stability and he wants continuity. This guy's got, what, 34 plus years of experience. He left the department because he was not happy with the way things were running. Now he's back, and he is, as I understand, is respected and trusted by the rank and file. So that gives him some wiggle room, some lead time until he can really make the big decision about who will be the permanent superintendent.
And he has brought back two people who left the department who were leaders, Brendan Deanahan and Robert Boyk, who had left the department, back in helping out during the transition, showing that he really is serious about this plugging into the police department. That said, Deborah Witzberg, the Inspector General of Chicago, has warned against this notion of going into CPD for the next superintendent, and has said there are problems with that because sometimes people who have come up through the ranks have complicated histories and are part of the culture that needs to be changed in the Chicago Police Department.
The Chicago Teachers Union, Laura, was a huge part of the reason we're sitting here getting ready to watch Brandon Johnson be inaugurated as the next mayor of Chicago. What do you think about the power of that union once he becomes mayor? Because that's not been the case for a lot of mayors. I mean, maybe ever, right?
Never.
A bond, right?
I mean, there's been highs and lows in the relationship between the CTU and the mayors, but there's always been friction. They've always been considered separate entities, not partners. This might be the first time we're going to see a possible partnership. The CTU invested a tremendous amount of energy and resources into getting this man elected, not because of him per se, but because of the progressive agenda that they've been fighting for 10, 15 years. And this is a culmination of that. So they're going to be expecting to see him execute that progressive agenda over and above what he does in terms of the negotiations he's doing around contracts with them.
Well, it was kind of funny when I asked him, I said, you tend to like Stacey's, okay? Because his wife's name is Stacey. And he kind of
Davis
chuckled.
Gates.
Right, is running the CTU. Right, so he kind of chuckled about that, and that led into the question about, and he did say, my children attend Chicago Public Schools, so it is important for me to negotiate something because my family will be directly impacted by what happens.
And one major move he made is to put Jennifer Johnson of the CTU in as his deputy mayor for education.
Right.
And she presumably would be a lead player on the city side in negotiation, whereas for the CTU, she had been a lead player in the negotiations.
That would be a really interesting relationship. She's got to be. She's going to have to do some twists and turns on that one.
Yeah. We haven't even discussed his relationship with his allies in the council. We still have a lot more we want to get your opinions on, so stay with us as we continue our coverage here for the next few hours. And following today's inauguration ceremony, the mayor's office will host an open house, and that's scheduled to begin at 2 at City Hall. There'll also be activities across the street at Daly Plaza, open to the public. And to wrap up the day, Johnson will be hosting a celebration at the UIC Forum. That is invite only. If we're feeling tired today on this this Monday morning. Imagine what him and his staff have been doing in the next few days. I'm guessing they didn't get a lot of sleep.
There's a ball tonight as well. And we should mention that this meet and greet at the City Hall was started in 1983 when Mayor Harold Washington was elected as the first African-American mayor of the city of Chicago. And he wanted to greet the people. He called himself the mayor of the people. And when Brandon won the runoff election, he said, "Here's Brandon." And that was a nod, of course, to Mayor Harold Washington.
And he's opening that 5th floor door, just like Mayor Washington did, and saying, "Come on in," like my predecessor. Great point.
Meet the people who voted him to that office.
And maybe some who didn't, who want to talk to him. That's the transparency that he's trying to portray.
That's what he said. He spoke to those people directly when he won on April 4th. He said, "I too am thinking about the people who didn't vote for me. I want to work with you." But of course, he is not the only one taking the oath of office. Rob mentioned it today. His allies in the city council, 13 new members of the Chicago City Council will be taking office today as well.
We're seeing a lot of change today. Leah Hope live outside Credit Union 1 Arena with more on that part of the story. Good morning to you, Leah.
Good morning. We're seeing folks trickling in. We saw a giant group of young people just go in. I'm guessing they were maybe part of the performance, but it looks like they'll make it in time. But things are starting to slow down here. People are getting their seats and getting ready for this actual celebration and swearing in ceremony. You know, you've been talking a lot about unity and building bridges. Well, perhaps the most important place that the mayor-elect will need to do that is within City Council chambers. And, you know, this is historic. Watching democracy in action, and because this is a democracy, not everyone is going to be happy. So we will see what happens with the mayor-elect as he tries to unite these 50 aldermen, 13 of which are new, many of them coming in with an agenda to try and make big changes. Changes ahead in Chicago's City Hall. A quarter of the governing body new to the job. New faces are always expected with each new council, but there will be 13 newly elected Chicagoans sworn in to represent Chicago's wards. Gone will be the long-serving alderpersons Carrie Austin, Tom Tunney, Roderick Sawyer, Roberto Maldonado, and the longest-serving councilor, Ed Burke. City Council chambers may host more discussions and debates, as there will be more progressive voices, some with professional experience advocating for change. Among the new progressives, Angela Clay in 46, a community organizer from Uptown, Jesse Fuentes in 26 from Humboldt Park, and Lenny Mana Hoppenworth in 48 from Andersonville. They will also be representing newly drawn wards facing unique issues. Bill Conway in 34 will be part of plans for development and safety for parts of the Central Business District and West Loop. And Nicole Lee in the increasingly diverse 11th Ward that includes Chinatown, Bridgeport, McKinley Park, and Armour Square. So prepare for maybe some more discussions, some lengthy discussions, and some votes that may not be unanimous. It should be very interesting to see what happens and how perhaps the mayor-elect tries to unify and build bridges within council and to try and move forward with this promise of making Chicago a world-class city for everyone, longtime Chicagoans as well as those who have recently arrived. We are live outside the Credit One Arena, waiting for this inauguration to take place, where people are continuing to come in and take their seats. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Leah, thank you so much. I remember sitting here, the four of us, many months ago, talking about if Paul Vallis was going to win this thing, he would have some people in council, excuse me, who weren't going to be supportive of him. That's flipped on its head now, David, and there are some longtime aldermen and women that are gone. Do you think their power may affect how they influence the council for those who remain for Brandon Johnson?
Well, what we're seeing is a shift in leadership of the council for sure. In fact, there was an effort to put people in place, to lock them in place. People like Scott Wegespack led this effort. He wanted to be the zoning committee chair. And Brandon Johnson just last week said, wait a minute, I've got a unity plan for the city council. I'm going to put in he didn't say it in so many words, but put in people who were loyal to him during the election in positions of authority. And the thing is, the good news for us is he put in people who have some serious experience in some of those key roles. Pat Dowell is Finance Committee Chair, Jason Irvin is Budget Committee Chair. Carlos Ramirez Rosa is the most interesting appointment because he's going to run the Zoning Committee, which is highly important. He'll also be the City Council floor leader, and Carlos Ramirez Rosa is the leader of the Progressive Caucus in Council. He's one of the most liberal members, and this aligns with what we know about Brandon Johnson as a real liberal. Now, that is very important for the development community because there are questions about how he would get along with developers, but what he plans to do is bring a more progressive agenda to zoning, and specifically to listen more to community when applications are made for zoning variances. For example, if a developer wants to come in and make a zoning variance, there will be a lot of questions about what you're going to do for affordable housing and for other aspects of development that benefit the entire community, not just the developer.
Yeah, 16 new faces on the city council, double the number of city aldermen and women who are in their 30s, 18 women, 14 Latinos this time. And this is only the second time the 50-ward system is under control as well. A lot of younger, diverse faces. Laura, how is that going to affect how he leads and how he might get some of his policies passed? And
not only that, there's going to be 7 Democratic Socialists. That's a record in the City Council, and 5 of those Democratic Socialists are going to actually be leading committees. I think there's going to be something like 9 members of the LGBTQ community, very diverse, and like you say, much younger. That matches his strategy, and that matches who he is. He's more left of center. There's folks that are going to be even further to his left, but that gives him more room and gives him more clout with the city council. These are people who were with him. One of the most interesting things I thought is that, you know, he has reorganized the council. The first reorganization which he threw out was going to add a whole lot more committees. He pulled back on that, and I think there's only going to be 1 more committee than there would have been originally. And but more than half of those committee chairs are people that supported him. But just like I think it's something like 11 or something of the committee chairs, the new committee chairs, are people who did not support him. So again, this is his ability, this is his message. He wants to reach out. I think not just symbolically, but I think practically, we need to be able to work together.
Yeah, they're going to have to do that tour. You mentioned Alderwoman Pat Dowell. That was a big one when she said, I'm supporting Brandon Johnson for mayor. There were not a lot of aldermen at that time and women who were outspoken about who they were going to choose. And she appears to be getting rewarded now with a pretty powerful position.
Yes, absolutely. And this is not unusual in Chicago politics. You dance with those who got you to the dance. And again, this is not just political cronyism. She is highly qualified for this role. She's been a leader in council on finance and budget matters for years, and even under Mayor Lori Lightfoot initially. So we feel comfortable in the sense that this is somebody who knows what she's doing in this area.
How about the diversity? The first time we have a Filipino alderperson, 2 Asian Americans, of course, in the city council for the city of Chicago. And there's history with one of the alderpersons who is from the Asian American community. How important is having diversity and historically and having 9 aldermen and women who identify as LGBTQ?
What's interesting to those of us who have been around a long time is there's this diversity, and there's also not a lot of fighting over the diversity. There's an acceptance of the fact that we're going to have more diverse leadership, representative of the very broad diversity in this city that we live in and feel so dedicated to. And it is a sign of progress, I think, in politics in Chicago.
And not just racial, ethnic, gender diversity. We're talking political diversity. We've got, as I said, we've got 7 or 8 aldermen who were even more left than Brandon Johnson. We have aldermen who, especially on the northwest and southwest sides of the city, who are considered very conservative, if not moderate conservative. So there's going to be a lot of room for debate and discussion, not only around ideology, but also around getting things done. And the political diversity is going to be interesting to watch how that plays out.
Challenge of getting that progressive agenda or the left of left agenda done will be quite a task for the mayor. Chicago's 57th mayor, along with city council, will be sworn in this morning right here at Credit Union 1 Arena. This is a live picture inside. It looks like folks, Cheryl, are taking their seats.
I know, it is full. And of course, all of the tickets were given away early. The excitement of the city, a new mayor, the 57th mayor here in the city of Chicago, 47 years old, Brandon Johnson, one of the youngest mayors who will be sworn in for the city of Chicago, the father of 3, former Cook County commissioner, former school teacher at Jenner Elementary and Westinghouse High School. So his perspective is very different, and he comes from the west side of Chicago, the Austin community. And I asked him about the importance of coming from a community he says could be overlooked sometimes, and what people can be inspired to see when they see a young man who came from Elgin, the son of 10 people, 10 siblings. And I'm told that his 80-year-old father, who was not there on election night, will be there today with him as he is sworn in. We know that his mom died from heart failure when he was 19 years old. So his dad was a single dad for a long time, and the values that his dad taught him, he was also a foster parent. His father was a minister at a church. So sometimes Brandon seems like he's doing sermons. When you
yes. I wonder where he got that from.
You have to catch him and you say, what was the answer to the question? Because he might give you a sermon in response instead of answering that question.
Yeah, he makes public speaking look easy when he does that. This is live again, Credit Union 1 Arena. As soon as this program starts, we will join it, so don't worry about that. We've got crews and cameras keeping an eye on that. We want to go back out to, did you say Diane Pathu, Chris? Yeah, let's go back out to Diane Pathu, who's there with more for us. Hi, Diane.
Yeah, good morning to you, Rob and Cheryl and the rest of the crew with you this morning. It's a beautiful day out here outside of the arena where now we're pretty much only people left trickling in. Just a few people trickling in. Before it was hundreds and thousands of people waiting to get in line. And, you know, we talked about the fact that Brandon Johnson is from the west side. And when I got an opportunity to talk to all of those people in line, by the way, they were in line very early this morning, they really want to see what Brandon Johnson will bring to the mayor's office. We got a chance to speak to so many of them that not only want to support him, right, but they also want to see this, his term, be the beginning of very positive changes for the city.
He brags about a better Chicago. We're going to hold him to a better Chicago, and I just want to be present when this happens, so therefore I can hold folks accountable.
I actually hope that he tackles the situation that we're having with a lot of the gun violence. We've lost several people that we really know, people that are connected to us, family-wise, church-wise, and things like that. And how easy it is for the young people to get these guns, get assault rifles and things like that. So I just hope he tackles that, and especially for the city of Chicago.
I talked to about a dozen people off camera as well that very much said the same thing, that they are so happy to be a part of the ceremony today, but they're absolutely waiting to see what Brandon Johnson does as mayor. So the official swearing in obviously going to happen, the ceremony beginning any minute now. We're waiting for that, but a lot of folks who are waiting in line are really looking forward to what he's going to bring to the office, what he's going to do in the city of Chicago as far as changes is concerned. They have a lot of expectations, and they really hope that he's going to follow through with a lot of the campaign promises he made along the way. Cheryl and Rob, back to you.
Okay, Diane, thank you. We'll keep an eye on when that starts. One issue, and like we said, there are so many that the mayor of Chicago will have to tackle that we haven't discussed, that has manifested itself here. It's been some time, but when Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, began shipping migrants here under Mayor Lori Lightfoot's watch, it became an incredible challenge for us as they keep coming. This, with public safety and police reform, is a big one for Mayor Johnson to have to tackle, Laura. And they need money. I mean, one thing that the mayor said is we need federal money and then some to help some of these migrants who are sleeping in police stations on the ground.
Yes, he was, as Cheryl, as you know, because he's told you about his Washington trip. When he was in Washington last week, that was one of the issues, that was one of the asks. We need more federal dollars. It's up to, the state has stepped up, the city has stepped up. We have already requested tens of millions of dollars. We have not received the amount of money that we requested, and it's urgent. I think this issue is probably even more urgent than public safety, because we're at a crisis level right now. People are sleeping on police station floors. There's no housing available for these folks, and it's creating some some political and social justice issues for the mayor as well, because some communities, African-American communities, are asking the question, why are we putting these resources and this attention on migrants who are not from here, who are newcomers, when we aren't getting the needs that we need, our needs are not getting met. And Johnson has addressed that and said that he understands that dilemma, but it's a huge challenge.
There was a strong pushback, Cheryl, from some of the members of those communities, and for them, rightfully so, because they haven't received the care and the housing that they feel like they deserve in their community in Chicago.
Yeah, there is a problem with unhoused people and unhoused residents here in the city of Chicago, and the juxtaposition of the migrants coming here, and today the mayor of the city is being inaugurated. How the migrants feel, and we interviewed some of them over the weekend about this happening, and they feel good to be a part of the process, but they still want more. And he told me specifically, he said, we have to remain a welcoming city. That was important to him. However, he said he doesn't want the residents who already live here and call this city home for many years to be overlooked in the process. So it is a fine line having to address how this is going to happen, because you don't want to turn people away. There are some people who need medical services. There's some women who are ready to give birth any minute, but how do you fix this? And you know, he talked about 1201, he has a program. Well, at midnight tonight, the honeymoon is over. So he's gonna have to enjoy all of the accolades today in the celebration, because they're going to be looking for him tomorrow for solutions and specific ones.
Just one example of how complicated this job is. You have to be able to play to all kinds of different emergencies and strategic thinking and unexpected developments. Mayor Lightfoot has, in one of her last official acts, declared a state of emergency here in Chicago over this migrant issue, and the fact that the governor of Texas is really helping to create this crisis by sending busloads of people here. And the Mayor Lightfoot also created an Office of New Americans in the city by executive order, which is interesting. It helps to create a structure by which we figure out how to welcome people and as Mayor-elect Johnson has said, not turn our backs on them while at the same time being aware of the problems it creates for various communities.
You're talking about an executive order that Mayor Lightfoot signed, one of several last week before she got into that Cadillac, I think it was. With 1940
Cadillac. That was Spencer Leak Jr. That was from his collection, if you will. Spencer Leak has a massive collection of vintage cars, and I confirmed it with him. 1940 Cadillac convertible.
It was a nice ride, yeah.
I know, right? So. It was a little raindrops, but that's okay. You know.
And so off Mayor Lightfoot goes, and as you mentioned, for Mayor Johnson, Mayor-elect Johnson coming in, the honeymoon doesn't last long. You get a lot of support, and then you got to start seeking solutions for the myriad of issues that this city faces.
Yeah, well, you know, when we had the problem downtown with the young people sort of getting a little bit out of hand several weeks ago, people were calling on him to do, you know, what's your plan to address this? He's not even mayor. He wasn't mayor three or 4 weeks ago. He's only stepping in now, and he probably is still working on developing those plans. I wouldn't expect to see anything at 12:01 this afternoon, but I think he's going to have to really be a lot more specific than he has been, clearly, because now the ball sits in his court.
Well, you have to choose your words carefully when you are the guy or the girl, the woman, you know, who is running this city, because the media will quickly pounce on one statement you say and pull it out of context depending on what the entire statement you made was, and then you got to answer for those comments. Are we getting started here? Okay.
All right.
Looks like the party's starting.
Oh, yes. This is good.
Looking at a performance from the Mutu Dance Theater. Let's listen in, everybody.
Now, let's watch with you. Enjoy.
Please welcome the members-elect of the City Council of Chicago. Kindly hold your applause until all the alderpersons have reached their seats. Daniel Laspada, accompanied by Alicia Loche. Brian Hopkins, accompanied by Colleen Hopkins. Pat Dowell, accompanied by Wallace E. Johnson. Lamont Robinson, accompanied by Jeremy Davenport. Desmond Yancey, accompanied by Jacob Yancey. William Hall, accompanied by Yasmin Curtis. Gregory Mitchell, accompanied by Cleo Mitchell. Michelle Harris, accompanied by John Clark. Anthony Beal, accompanied by Dana Beal. Peter Chico, accompanied by Marie Chico. Nicole Lee, accompanied by Jean Lee. Julia Ramirez, accompanied by Maria Mendoza. Marty Quinn, accompanied by Beth Quinn. J. Gutierrez, accompanied by Aranza Escott. Raymond Lopez, accompanied by Hugo Lopez. Stephanie Coleman, accompanied by Bishop and retired Alderman Shirley Coleman. David Moore, accompanied by Elizabeth Lee. Derek Curtis, accompanied by Sharice Curtis. Matthew O'Shea, accompanied by Kara O'Shea. Jeanette Taylor, accompanied by James Taylor III. Ronnie Mosley, accompanied by Taylor Mosley. Michael Rodriguez, accompanied by Jackie Areola Rodriguez. Silvana Tabarez, accompanied by Sean Murray. Monique Scott, accompanied by Michael Scott Jr. Byron Sikcho Lopez, accompanied by Lorene Targus. Jesse Fuentes, accompanied by Rebecca Medina. Walter Burnett, accompanied by Darlena Williams Burnett. Jason Irvin, accompanied by Thelma Irvin. Chris Taliaferro, accompanied by Melissa Taliaferro. Ruth Cruz, accompanied by Oscar Marufo. Felix Cardona, accompanied by Claudia Cardona. Scott Wagaspak, accompanied by Jade Wagaspak. Rosana Rodriguez Sanchez, accompanied by Luis Rodriguez. Bill Conway, accompanied by Brittany Conway. Carlos Ramirez Rosa, accompanied by Judge Ramon Ocasio III. Gilbert Villegas, accompanied by Melissa Angelucci. Emma Mitz, accompanied by Oscar Taylor. Nicholas Spizzato, accompanied by Catherine Blanksey. Samantha Nugent, accompanied by Rory Nugent. Andre Vasquez, accompanied by Valerie Miles. Anthony Napolitano, accompanied by Jamie Napolitano. Brendan Riley. Timmy Knudsen, accompanied by Lucy Moog. Bennett Lawson, accompanied by Pedro Mendoza. Jim Gardner, accompanied by Samantha Fields. Angela Clay, accompanied by Angelita James. Matt Martin, accompanied by Caitlin Martin. Lenny Mana Hoppenworth, accompanied by Sydney Hoppenworth. Maria Haddon, accompanied by Natalia Vera. Deborah Silverstein, accompanied by Eva Loskov. Please welcome the inaugural co-chairs. Kindly hold your applause until all guests have reached their seats. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, accompanied by First Lady M.K. Pritzker. Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, accompanied by Second Gentleman Brian Eccles. Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul, accompanied by Che Raoul. Illinois Secretary of State Alexi Janulius, accompanied by Josephine Janulius. Illinois Comptroller Susana Mendoza, accompanied by David Sostak. U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth. U.S. Senator Dick Durbin. Congressman Danny K. Davis, accompanied by Vera Davis. Congressman Jesus Chuy Garcia. Congressman Jonathan Jackson, accompanied by Darrell Harper. Congresswoman Robin L. Kelly, accompanied by Deborah Graham. Congresswoman Delia C. Ramirez, accompanied by Boris Hernandez. Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, accompanied by Andrew Gachkowski. Illinois Senate President Don Harmon, accompanied by Teresa Wilton Harmon. Illinois Speaker of the House Emanuel Chris Welch, accompanied by Willie Mae Welch. Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle, accompanied by Lynetta Haynes Turner. Please welcome special guests of the mayor-elect. Kindly hold your applause until all guests have reached their seats. Cook County State's Attorney Kimberly M. Fox, Bishop J. Drew Sheard, accompanied by Karen Clark Sheard, Randy Weingarten, accompanied by Sharon Kleinbaum, Dan Montgomery, Stacey Davis Gates, accompanied by Kevin Gates, Jackson Potter, Greg Kelly, accompanied by Bertha Roberson, Roberta Lynch, accompanied by Mike Newman, Bob Ryder, accompanied by Father Cleet Hilly, Kathy Griffin, accompanied by Sean Denny, Tony Johnston, accompanied by Rachel Johnston, Diane Palmer, accompanied by Stacia Scott, Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., accompanied by Bishop Tavis Grant, Emma Ty, accompanied by Josh Lerner, Kennedy Bartley, accompanied by Teresa Bartley, Dr. Barbara Ransby, accompanied by Jason Ransby Sporn, G2 Brown, accompanied by Jay Travis, Tanya Watkins, Olga Batista, Abby Illenberger, Frank C. Chapman, Jesus Martinez, Caitlin Brady, Will Tansman, Ling Young, Jessica Trotter, Enrique Mendoza, Andy Chin, Amisha Patel, and Claudia Guzman. Please welcome the Honorable Diana E. Lopez. Please welcome the Honorable Judith C. Rice. Please welcome the Honorable Timothy C. Evans, accompanied by Daisy Denizard. Please welcome City Clerk of Chicago, Anna M. Valencia, accompanied by Rayad Cosme. Please welcome City Treasurer of Chicago, Melissa Conyers Irvin, accompanied by Geneva Irvin. Please welcome City of Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, accompanied by First Lady Amy Eshelman. Please welcome Mayor-elect of the City of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, accompanied by his wife, Mrs. Stacy Johnson, and their children, Owen Johnson, Ethan Johnson, and Braden Johnson.
Okay, well, the stage is set. We're all four of us kind of looking at who's up on the stage. Oh, they're going to continue here. I believe we have the presentation of colors. We want to keep listening.
JROTC. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and the singing of the National Anthem and the Black National Anthem. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led in American Sign Language by El Mendiola. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. To perform the national anthem, please welcome Cassandra Figueroa.
Buenos días y bienvenidos, mi gente. Es un placer que estar aquí con ustedes. Gracias. Hello and good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you all this morning. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Thank you.
To perform the Black National Anthem, please welcome Walt Whitman and the Soul Children of Chicago. please welcome Melody Cerna of the American Indian Center of Chicago.
Ani Buju Minugugujeb. Hello, good morning. The American Indian Center of Chicago is pleased to partner with the Office of the Mayor to put together this land acknowledgement. Over the past few years, land acknowledgements have become a trendy way to bring awareness to the original people of a particular location where the land acknowledgement is being delivered. Unfortunately, most stop there, and that's not nearly enough. Today, I want you to consider your relationship to this land, the environment, the original people of this land, and the descendants of people whose land is the foundation for the city you know and love today. Chicago's origin story is rooted in very difficult reality that we all must confront together. It centers on the very land we're gathered upon today, and I ask you to consider for just a moment, how was this land originally acquired? Long before the metal beams scraped the sky and the freeways scarred the soil, citizens from numerous native nations made this land their home. Chicago is the traditional homelands of the Council of the Three Fires, the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations. Many other nations, including the Miami, Ho-Chunk, Menominee, Sauk, and Meskwaki, also made their homes here. We acknowledge that since time immemorial, these people lived, loved, raised families, and created community on this land. They cared for, celebrated, and gave thanks to this land. And in short, they built a loving and lasting reciprocal relationship with the land that we're on today. We acknowledge that through the acts of settler colonialism, their relationship with this land was shattered. The original people were stolen from the land as they were forced to leave through lies, torture, violence, and genocide. This is the legacy of how the land for the city of Chicago was originally acquired. To acknowledge this brutal legacy is not enough. We must find ways to heal it and to move forward together as a community. To that end, we must first honor with so much love and gratitude the many ways in which Native people have worked endlessly while giving up so much of their bodies and spirits so that Chicago may exist and thrive today. We must acknowledge the courage and the resiliency that Native people possess that is evidenced by the continued indelible contributions they impart on our city to this day, despite their horrific experiences with settler colonialism. Presently, Chicago is the home to over 65,000 natives who represent more than 140 different nations. We are your friends and neighbors, your classmates and coworkers. We live, love, and we hope and dream in this city. We continue to build community. Today, as we come together as community, committed to uplifting all of our relatives, I need you to move beyond land acknowledgements. Acknowledgements alone do not create equitable conditions in the lives of our minority and marginalized relatives, including our Native American, African American, other communities of color, and of course our LGBTQ+ and Two-Spirit relatives. Beginning immediately, we must intentionally create actionable steps to boldly dismantle settler colonialism here in Chicago. As a community, we must ready ourselves with the strength, wisdom, and courage to lead the next 7 generations. We must move forward. 7 generations is a belief deeply rooted within our Native American wisdom and values that ensures our grandchildren's grandchildren will not only survive, but thrive 7 generations into the future while possessing the knowledge and wisdom of their ancestors. In closing, I ask, how will you help ensure a better, more equitable future for all Chicagoans? How are you going to show up as an activist and ally each and every day moving forward? Chimigwech.
The mayor will now bring the city council to order.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the peaceful transfer of power. The City Council will now come to order.
Please be seated. To deliver the invocation, please welcome the Reverend Dr. Otis Moss III.
Let us bow our heads in prayer. Upon the land cultivated by the Ojibwe and the Odawa, in this city of big shoulders founded by a man of African descent named Dusabo, we, the citizens of this tapestry of diversity and mosaic of humanity, invoke the Holy Spirit. May the aspirations of marginalized children, forgotten elders, homeless families, and vulnerable veterans find space and voice in this administration. May the constituents, we as constituents of this grand metropolis of possibility, engage our imagination to dream of a city that is yet to be born. One city not divided by income, one city not divided by race, one city not divided by ethnicity or migrant status. A city where children on the west and south side have the same opportunity as those upon the north and Gold Coast. We invoke the Holy Spirit to cover the Johnson family and empower this mayor to lead with humility and strength, integrity and compassion, vision and faithfulness, justice and equity. This is our prayer as citizens of this municipality of big shoulders we call Chicago. May those who believe in the possibility and potential of this city, the leadership of Brandon Johnson, and the power of the Holy Spirit speak with authority using the ancient words of affirmation, Amen and Ashe.
To deliver an original poetry reading, please welcome the inaugural Poet Laureate of Chicago, Avery R. Young.
In this close proximity to Karen Clark Sheard and Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. and a pre-K, I think I need to start this thing off with giving honor to God and look here, if I make a mistake, don't laugh. Just pray my strength in the Lord. And whereas a dream can blast off and a rainbow child can dip in the middle of the boulevard with no static from haves or have-nots smoking oxtails in their backyards. And whereas a nurse can go and lie down for a week to keep her mind on this side of clothes instead of becoming front page news and the source of her mother-in-law's worry and woe. And whereas a collective of activists can create worry-free of nightsticks to dodge in the hawk or heat. And whereas any child doesn't have to go to school to ensure that they eat. For ain't this a metropolis? Once a milk and honey land to sharecroppers from the south. Ain't this metropolis a stir fry of cultures? With lions on the stoop of a great art house? And ain't us all beautiful under a red sun sky and its mountains made of metal and windows? Or a good old Dr. Watts hymn, to pierce a sin-sick soul. And whereas any skeptic that does not believe in utopian vision-scapes, where justice is bliss and the imagination is the brain's gold mine, this city still be a space a dream can whisper into a child of the third fire's ear. This be a place where you can thrive.
To bestow the blessing, please welcome Rabbi Shoshana Conover.
Mayor Brandon Johnson, I know that your biblical inspiration is Joseph. With him you identify, and through him, that dream interpreter, you realize your own dreams. So like Joseph, Mayor Johnson, may you wear a coat of many colors, colors that represent all humanity, all ethnicities, all of Chicago, black, brown, and white, Asian, indigenous, and Latinx. And may you realize, like Joseph, that a coat is just a coat. It can be ripped off, torn apart, bloodied. So may God place within you a heart of many colors. And may your rainbow heart beat in the rhythm of all Chicago. Like Joseph, dear Mayor, may you prevail over every temptation. Certainly they will continue to come your way and increase. But like Joseph with Potiphar's wife, may you be reminded of the values handed down to you by your father, Pastor Andrew Johnson, and your beloved late mother, Wilma Jean Johnson. And may you continue to act with the kind of integrity that has brought you to this very moment. Like Joseph, may you have the courage to go into dark places, to witness those who feel forgotten in detention centers and prisons. See them, listen to their dreams, help them behold their destiny of repentance and repair, reform, restoration, healing, and flourishing. Mayor, give our youth hope. There are too many deserts in our city. Food deserts, housing deserts, healthcare deserts, education deserts. Much of where we look, we face famine. We lack hope. Like Joseph, Mayor Johnson, help every neighborhood, every citizen thrive. Not only through your vision, but with careful planning and thoughtful collaboration, so that, like Joseph, when people come from far away lands looking for a brighter future, Mayor, you will help us welcome them because we thrive. And like our beloved Joseph, who brought his family together, uniting them after decades of division, Mayor, unite us. Lead us to our common destiny. Chicago, a beacon of light in our great yet frayed nation. Teach us to strengthen our big shoulders. We are our brother's keeper. We are our sister's keeper. We are our siblings' keeper. Mayor Brandon Johnson, our Joseph, may you see God's hand in the work that you do. Like your biblical brother, may you have occasion to say, Ki limichnya shalachani Elokim lifnechem. It was to save life that God sent me before you. Oh God, we pray, strengthen Brandon Johnson. He has lives to save, a city to unite and heal. Remind him that you are with him, guiding him. God, protect him. Keep him safe. God, look over his loved ones, Stacy, Owen, Ethan, and Braden. Give him time, God, to cherish them, to give them his gladness, even as he works to build a better Chicago for them, and with all of us, by his side, in his heart. Amen.
Please welcome City Clerk of Chicago, Anna M. Valencia, to present for the record an official statement concerning election of mayor, city clerk, city treasurer, and alderpersons.
Mayor Lightfoot, Mayor-elect Johnson, Treasurers Conyers-Irvin, members of the City Council. The Clerk of the Cook County has filed in the Office of the City Clerk the official statements of election for the offices of Mayor, City Clerk, City Treasurer, and alderpersons of the 50 wards of the City of Chicago.
Please welcome the Honorable Deanna E. Lopez, Circuit Judge of the Circuit Court of Cook County, who will administer the oath of office of City Clerk to Anna M. Valencia.
I, Anna Valencia,
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of the Clerk of the City of Chicago according to the best of my ability. Congratulations.
Thank you.
City Clerk Valencia will now administer the oath of office to the alderpersons-elect of the City of Chicago.
She'll be okay. She has M&Ms. Will the alderpersons-elect of the 50 wards please rise? Please raise your right hand. Oh, please rise. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of alderperson of the City of Chicago according to the best of my ability. Congratulations.
Please be seated. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Daniel Espada. Alderman Brian Hopkins. Alderman Pat Dow. Alderperson Lamont Robinson. Alderperson Desmond Yancey. Alderperson William Hall. Alderperson Gregory Mitchell. Alderperson Michelle Harris. Alderperson Anthony Beal. Alderperson Peter Chico. Alderperson Nicole Lee. Alderperson Julia Ramirez. Alderperson Marty Quinn. Alderperson J. Lou Gutierrez. Alderperson Raymond Lopez. Alderperson Stephanie Coleman. Alderperson David Moore. Alderperson Derek Curtis. Alderperson Matt O'Shea. Alderperson Jeanette Taylor. Alderperson Ronnie Mosley. Alderperson Michael Rodriguez. Alderperson Savannah Tabares. Alderperson Monique Scott. Alderperson Byron Cicho Lopez. Alderperson Jesse Fuentes. Alderperson Walter Burnett. Alderperson Jason Irvin. Alderperson Chris Talafero. Alderperson Ruth Cruz. Alderperson Felix Cordona. Alderperson Scott Wagispack. Alderperson Rosana Rodriguez Sanchez. Alderperson Bill Conway. Alderperson Carlos Ramirez Rosa. Alderperson Gilbert Villegas. Alderperson Emma Mitz. Alderperson Nicholas Sabasato. Alderperson Samantha Nugent. Alderperson Andre Vasquez. Alderperson Anthony Napolitano. Alderperson Brendan Riley. Alderperson Timothy Knudsen. Alderperson Bennett Lawson. Alderperson Jim Gardner. Alderperson Angela Clay. Alderperson Matt Martin. Alderperson Linny Mana Hoppenworth. Alderperson Maria Haddon. Alderperson Deborah Silverstein. Your Honor, we have a quorum present.
We have a quorum.
I now present to you for your consideration the official bonds of the Honorable Brandon Johnson as Mayor of the City of Chicago, their Honorable Anna Valencia as City Clerk of Chicago, and the Honorable Melissa Conyers Irvin as the Treasurer of the City of Chicago, which have been certified as to form by the Corporation Council and certified as sureties by the City Comptroller.
Alderperson Jason Irvin for a motion on the bonds. Alderman. You want to come here? Jason, just come here.
Madam President, I move the approval of the bonds for the wonderful people from the West Side, the Mayor, Clerk, and Treasurer.
On Alderperson Jason Irvin's motion to approve the bonds, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the bonds are approved.
Please welcome the Honorable Judith C. Rice, Acting Presiding Judge of the Circuit Court of Cook County and former Treasurer of the City of Chicago, who will administer the oath of office of City Treasurer to Melissa Conyers-Irvin.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Melissa Conyers-Irvin,
I, Melissa Conyers-Irvin,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Treasurer of the City of Chicago
the duties of the office of Treasurer for the City of Chicago
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To dedicate a prayer for peace and guidance, please welcome Imam Hassan Ali.
In the name of God, most gracious, the most merciful. إن الله يأمركم أن تؤدوا الأمانات إلى أهلها وإذا حكمتم بين الناس أن تحكموا بالعدل إن الله نعم ما يعظكم به إن الله كان سميعا بصيرا. Indeed, God commands you to render trust to whom they are due. And when you judge between people, to judge with justice. Excellent is that which God instructs you. Indeed, God is ever hearing and seeing. Almighty God, I join hands with my brothers and sisters here today to pray for you, to ask for your blessings and guidance as we inaugurate our new leaders into positions of responsibility. May their hearts be filled with a deep sense of love and compassion for all people, regardless of race, gender, religion, or social status. May their leadership be marked by honesty, integrity, and a deep commitment to serving the common good. As we invoke your blessings upon us, give us a still and quiet heart and mind. Make us humble in the use of freedom, just in the exercise of power, and generous in the protection of weakness. Inspire the leaders who direct our city and our state that they may guide it wisely and well. Give them the wisdom to know what is right and the courage to do it. May our personal faith give us strength to act honestly and well in all matters before us. Help us to be moral leaders and guides for all people, and especially Mayor Johnson. As he's about to take the oath, may his efforts of goodness, peace, and security be blessed with insight and guided by understanding and wisdom. May this morning be a new era for our city and our state, as we humble ourselves and acknowledge you alone as our Savior and Lord. Almighty God, you are the source of life, peace, and love. Accept our prayers today and every day. Amen.
To perform a special selection of music, please welcome Karen Clark Sheard, accompanied by the Destiny Worship and Praise Chorale and Rise Orchestra.
To dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear the unbearable sorrow, to run where the brave dare to go.
we bless your name. We honor your name, Jesus. There's nobody like you, Lord. When I think of how he's brought us thus far, if it had not been for you bringing us this far, you ordered the steps of a good man. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. Yeah, 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 yeah.
To administer the oath of office of Mayor of the City of Chicago, please welcome the Honorable Timothy C. Evans, Chief Judge of the Circuit Court of Cook County, and Mayor-elect Brandon Johnson.
Look out, boy. This day was coming, wasn't it?
We did.
Yeah. Raise your right hand and repeat after me, inserting your name at the appropriate time. I, and state your name.
I, Brandon Johnson,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will
faithfully
discharge the duties the office of Mayor of the City of Chicago, according to the best of my ability. Sir, you are installed. Love you, brother. You take care of it now.
Yes,
God
sir.
be with you here. All right.
And I actually got a little bit of a smile on the cold turkey. I like to see that.
All right. Wish me well.
Good to see you, brother. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please, thank you. Please be seated. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here today. I am truly humbled and honored to stand before you as the 57th mayor of the greatest city in the world. And I truly believe that. It's not just the incredible natural beauty of our city as you look out over Lake Michigan. It's not just the outstanding food, from pizza to Italian beef to the vegetarian tacos. It's not just our art and music that pushes the boundaries and redefines genres. I believe what truly makes us great is our people. And not just the names that show up in our history books, but the ones that show up in our schools, on the beat, at the work site, at the concert hall, and of course in the boardrooms, and of course at the respite center, looking out for strangers in need. Chicagoans, we show up. And we have leaders who show up too. And that's why I'm grateful that we have Governor J.B. Pritzker, Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, Senator Dick Durbin, Senator Tammy Duckworth, Senate President Don Harmon, the first black speaker, House Speaker Chris Welch, our entire congressional delegation, Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle, the members of the General Assembly, and of course my former colleagues at the Cook County Board, and to every other elected leader who is here today, thank you for your service and thank you for being here. And to the City Treasurer, Melissa Conyers-Irvin, and the City Clerk, Anna Valencia, congratulations on your inaugurations. I look forward to serving with both of you and building a stronger city together. And to the members of the City Council, and especially the 13 newly elected alderpersons, congratulations. This is your day too, and you deserve recognition, and I'm going to turn around and clap for them. I want to make this clear. The people of Chicago are counting on us to work together, to collaborate to make their lives better every day. Now, we won't always agree, but I won't ever question your motives or your commitment, and I'll always do my part to find common ground. I'd like to thank Mayor Lori Lightfoot and her leadership of our city through turbulent times. Let us not forget that Mayor Lightfoot made history twice as the first black woman and the first openly gay LGBTQ mayor. And in doing so, she broadened the imagination of so many young people across this city, including my daughter. Lori, I am grateful to you for your service and your sacrifice. And to my extended family here today, y'all didn't know how many cousins I had until I ran for mayor. And to my play cousins. But also my 3 children, Owen, Ethan, and Braden, and of course my wife, Stacy. None of this will be possible or mean nearly as much without you. And of course, you all know I got to brag a little bit about my wife. Because I may be getting inaugurated, but Stacy is the one making history today as the first black first lady in the history of Chicago. Stacy, your love and care for Chicago is only dwarfed by your love for our family. Thank you for everything that you do every single day and everything you will do for Chicago. Now, look, I'll be honest with you all. This is still very, very humbling for me. Because I have to tell you, growing up, I never imagined I could be on a stage like this. Growing up one of 10 in a working class family, it teaches you a lot about things. But I never could have foreseen this. Now, make no mistake about it, that doesn't mean that I'm not prepared. In fact, I think often about my upbringing and the lessons that my parents and my siblings instilled. My mother is not here today, she's an ancestor. But my mother had the biggest heart of anyone that I know. She always made room for one more at the table. A cousin, a neighbor, someone in need of a warm meal and a warm embrace. She taught me to love people. And that's ultimately the reason I stand before you today. And I can feel your Wilma Jean Johnson in this room. Now, my father is here. He taught me what it means to work hard and to be accountable. This brother worked 3 jobs. Now, he was a carpenter and a pastor. You understand the pressure growing up in a house when your father is just like Jesus? I've learned my core values of hard work and accountability and love that form the foundation for my approach to public service. And now I stand before you today as the new mayor of the nation's third largest city. A place where to hope and to have opportunity. It's been here for decades, met with the promise and the possibility that only a place like Chicago can provide. There is something special about this city. I like to call it the soul of Chicago. Karen Clark Shear, this is where I believe in our faith tradition, we start to say, I think I feel my help coming. It is alive in each and every one of us here today, and it's always been the strong in the heart of everyone who has ever called this land home. I'm talking about the soul of Chicago. It's alive in the hearts of the Miami, the Sauk, the Potawatomi, who lived on this land for centuries. The soul of Chicago sent a black Haitian man named Jean-Baptiste Point de Sable to establish a city at the mouth of the Chicago River. It was alive in the hearts of tens of thousands who arrived here in the Great Migration, including my grandparents, who came to Chicago in search of a home. They injected the soul, the rhythm, combined with the traditions of the South, like the blues and, of course, the new cadence, making Chicago the center of both black enterprise and black freedom struggles. It is the soul of Chicago that brought immigrants from all over the world to work, to organize, to build the first skyscraper, to flee persecution in one country and create an entire industry in another country, including one of the largest hospitality companies in the world. I'm talking about the soul of Chicago. Because that same soul spurred two immigrants from Guatemala to Humboldt Park, where they raised a daughter named Delia Ramirez. Who would grow up to make our city proud as a member of the United States Congress. Congresswoman Ramirez was born in the same public hospital where I, a child of the Great Migration, received life-saving asthma treatment. I'm talking about the soul of Chicago. That, my friends, is the rich soul of Chicago. That soul is what strikes me today. I'm marveling. Boy, West Siders are everywhere. Because if you didn't know, now you know. I'm marveling not just at the peaceful transfer of power, or the miracle of American democracy, or the grand tradition of Chicago elections. It is how much we all share. I'm struck by how much work it took to bring us to this moment. How many decades of slow, grinding progress. Think about the labor movement, which produced luminaries like my mentor and dear sister, Karen Lewis. Who modeled true social justice unionism and helped lead the multiracial, multicultural working class movement that organized its way to this moment. The same labor movement that raised wages, established the 40-hour work week, and built the middle class in this city. From the civil rights movement embodied by our very own brother, Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. Which abolished racial segregation in our laws and gave us the Voting Rights Act. From the women's right movement, led by Chicago's Jane Addams and Ida B. Wells, which ensured women would participate fully in every part of civil life. In fact, we all are here because of the work of giants who came before us and without whom this day would not be possible. I bring that up because so often in politics, we think and talk and argue about the things that divide us. I want to be clear about something. Those divisions are real. They are. Many people who love our city deeply have radically different ideas about how to confront the shared challenges that we face. It's true. Y'all know we need revenue. We have a structural deficit. And we have to invest in people. And we have to do that without breaking the backs of working people with fines, fees, and property taxes. You can't make people feel bad because they have a payment plan. You can't stop someone with a payment plan from becoming mayor of the city of Chicago. Oh, my help is coming this morning. But too many Chicagoans, though, fear for their safety. And when they walk down the streets to get groceries or drive to the gas station, because our city's homicide and violent crime rates have consistently outpaced our peer cities. Our public transit is unreliable and unsafe, so much so that many parents refuse to let their children ride, even when the CTA could be the pathway to opportunity and enrichment. Rent in Chicago continues to go up year after year after year, while the development of both affordable and market rate housing stagnates. And as a result, too many in our city go to sleep unhoused, and too few families know the security of owning their own home. Our downtown commercial corridors still bear the scars of the pandemic, with higher vacancy rates and lower foot traffic. And of course, our neighborhoods, particularly those on the south and west side, have still not tasted the fruits of the investments that they demand and deserve. Our schools call out for more resources to fulfill their mandate of providing every single child in our city with a world-class education that meets their specific needs. And despite the trauma these challenges produce, too few can rely on the consistent access to mental health care that they desperately need. But as we debate and discuss the solutions to these crises. I want to remind us that we have the real conversation, and that conversation is about the soul of Chicago. It's alive. It's alive and well in each and every one of us. We have so much in common, you all. We really do. And we know that we all suffer when these ills are allowed to fester and grow. These problems don't just affect particular neighborhoods, one community, or an ethnic group. It affects all of us. You know, the tears of Adam Toledo, his parents, the tears of Adam Toledo's parents are made of the same sorrow as the parents of Officer Preston's parents. Officer Preston's tragic death at the age of 24, just last week, reminds us what is really at stake. When we talk about the future of Chicago, we have to be very clear about what's at stake, because she joined the Chicago Police Department for the very same reason that I ran to become the next mayor of the city of Chicago. She believed that through public service, she could be a conduit for justice. To the family of Officer Preston, my heart is with you, and know we will be with you every step of the way. Thank you for sharing your extraordinary daughter with the city of Chicago. Now, thank you. Honoring public servants like Officer Preston means truly addressing the challenges that we face. But the only way that we can truly confront and address those challenges is by working together and coming together. Now, we can't do it in a phony way, in an artificial way that pretends that differences don't exist. But I'm talking about in a deeper way that acknowledges the strength of what makes this city so strong and great. I'm talking about a strength that binds us in the face of our unique perspectives. All of us in this room today, are the product of our own stories. And each and every one of us has a story to not only tell, but lift up. And all of us in this room have the ability to take action, to be the courageous men and women who came before us. And that means right now, we get to write the story of our children's and our grandchildren's futures. And we get to do that together. And what will that story say? What will it say? That Chicago, with its sturdy shoulders and its diverse economy and the legacy of all of our generosity, was too afraid to stand up? Is that what our story will say? Thank you. we get to tell a different story. I'm talking about a story that, again, that binds us together. We don't want our story to be told that we were unable to house the unhoused or provide a safe harbor for those who are seeking refuge here. Because there's enough room for everyone in the city of Chicago, whether you are seeking asylum or you are looking for a fully funded neighborhood. We don't want our story to say that we did not invest in all of the people and all of the communities that make our city great. We don't want that to be our story. Cannot afford to get it wrong, Chicago. We don't want Chicago that has been overwhelmed by the traumatization of violence and despair, that our residents felt no hope or no choice but to leave, shrinking our economy and making it difficult for this city to remain a world-class city. We don't want that, Chicago. Our city gets to be as big as its promises. Our city gets to be as wide as our neighborhoods across this city. All 77 neighborhoods. That's the story. It's our neighborhoods. I'm breathing it in, you all. I'm just breathing it in. And so again, I'll repeat it again. We don't want our story to be that Chicago became so traumatized by violence and despair that our residents felt no other choice but to leave. And so a better day is ahead, Chicago. Our stories get to reach well beyond this moment. They do. And I'm grateful that I will be working with a body of government that is committed to that transformation. But here's the thing, no, it won't be. That will not be our story. Not on my watch. Because we right now together are committing ourselves to writing a different future. As a pastor's son, I'm reminded of a scripture, Matthew 6:21. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And let's show the world, Chicago, where our heart is. Let's build a Chicago that is the economic marvel of our state, the Midwest, and this nation. Let's build a Chicago that means that our economy gets to grow by rerouting the rivers of prosperity to the banks of disinvestment so that no one goes thirsty. Too much of our land is dry right now, and we have to change that, and we can. See, I live in one of those drier communities, the beautiful Austin neighborhood on the mighty west side of Chicago. And the very fact that the mayor of Chicago lives in one of the most disinvested and violent communities in the city, it shows us what's possible. So let's not be discouraged by what it is. Let's make sure that we never stop imagining of what it could be. So we'll create a Chicago where the big development projects get done. The poor have a pathway out of poverty, and large events like the Democratic National Convention that will generate a vitality in every single neighborhood that gets done. Where our cultural institutions, whether it's our sporting events, hotels, and our world-class restaurants, are supported, promoted, and accessible not just to those from every corner of the world, but for those from every corner of the city. By imagining what is possible, by doing this, we can create a prosperous city which no one is too poor to live in one of the richest cities in one of the wealthiest countries at the richest time in the history of the world. And so that means I'm talking about a Chicago where 65,000 people don't wake up on the streets or in a shelter, where public housing and affordable housing and a pathway to home ownership exists for everyone. I'm talking about a city where it will no longer be the case where every network dollar belonging to a white family, where only 8 cents belongs to a brown family and only 1 cent belongs to a black family. We can do it, Chicago. We can bring Chicago home. My family is living proof of the type of transformation that can happen with real investments. We'll create a Chicago where pathways to college and the high-tech industries and the future exist alongside the pathways to the trades and apprenticeships and the arts, where every young person has a chance to pursue their passion and get a W-2, where business, community, labor, philanthropy work together to connect every young person to an opportunity to fulfill their potential, where we introduce these opportunities to young people as young as 6, 7, and 8 years old and open up their minds to a world that could be. I'm talking about the soul of Chicago. And so Gary, Bob, Jim, Don, we need your leadership. Richard, Marty, Linda, we need your business expertise. G2, Tanya, Andrea, and Oscar, we need your organizing and relationships. And so listen, this is not a call out. This is what organizers refer to as a call in. And I'm talking about calling in the wisdom of the soul of Chicago, calling in the compassion of the soul of Chicago, calling in the expertise. I'm talking about calling in every single person in the city of Chicago to build a city that works for everyone. So let's get to work where we double the amount of young people that we hire. Some say that we have to wait 20 years for the efforts to pay dividends. I don't believe that. We can change lives of people in Chicago right now. So let's show our heart is in our young people's education. Let's create a public education system that resources children based on need and not just on numbers. Where every single child in every neighborhood, whether they fill out an application or not, whether they are bilingual or not, special needs or not, has access to a world-class education. Let's have a system that respects its parents, educators, and school employees, where the president of the Chicago Teachers Union and SEIU Local 73 and the CEO of the Chicago Public Schools can work together to advocate for more resources for all of our children. So, Stacy, Diane, Pedro, I need you. We can do this together. Tony and Juan, let's do the same thing for city colleges, which should be a gateway to opportunity for all of our neighborhoods. And so, while we're at it, let's work together to make sure that there is child care for all for every single person in the city of Chicago. So Greg, Erica, Maggie, and Mr. Governor, let's do it together. I I want to work with you to make sure that we are providing support for working parents and giving children the nourishment that they need from day one. And how about we also create a Chicago where the hundreds of thousands suffering from episodic mental health receive treatment and not trauma. Because people like my late brother Leon, who died addicted and unhoused, if only there was treatment. I want to make sure that no one ever has to suffer because they do not have access to mental health services. And people have told us no for too long. It's a matter of life and death. So let's bring together the private sector, the public sector, the county, the state, and the federal government to find the best solutions for delivering these services, including reopening our mental health care centers across the city of Chicago. So let's get to work, Chicago. Cheryl, Rosanna, President Preckwinkle, and Roberta, we need your leadership. Let's get this right for future generations. Here, I actually believe we can even do something really bold and fix our public transportation system. We can secure safety and convenience for cyclists while making significant investments in the reliability, the safety, and the connectivity of our buses and trains in every single neighborhood. These investments won't just benefit our economy, they'll result in a safer, more livable city for all of us. And once and for all, let's create a safer Chicago. A safe Chicago means a safe Chicago for all, no matter what you look like, who you love, or where you live. We'll do it together by investing in people. We'll invest in housing, mental health, and youth jobs and higher wages and real economic development in every community. We'll do it by supporting law enforcement, especially those who are serving on the front lines. That means providing them with direct lines of supervision, clear expectations for their work, and equal opportunities for advancement and strong accountability and support for every stakeholder in this city. Our faith leaders, our philanthropic institutions, our business community, violence interrupters, researchers, educators, coaches, counselors. It's going to take all of us. Not one of us can sit down in order to make a better, stronger, safer Chicago. I'm counting on the entire city to deliver on this. And so, you all know we have no time to spare. As I speak, a group of philanthropic and business leaders are partnering to increase the resources for community youth programming between when school lets out and the Chicago Park District programs begin, and to provide more safe opportunities for young people during Memorial Day weekend and the 4th of July. It's not just up to Fred Waller and his officers, it is up to all of us. So Charles, Abby, and Andrea, thank you. Let's keep pushing to build a safer Chicago. And speaking of the right thing to do, the soul of Chicago tells us we will never close our doors to those who come here in search of a better life. For as Scripture says, I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you came to visit me. That has always been the soul of Chicago, and it will always be the soul of Chicago. We know the strength of a city is determined by how we treat the most vulnerable. And so we choose to be a strong city. We must reject a zero-sum formulation between investing in those who have been here for decades and supporting those who have been sit here on a bus even this morning. We can do both, Chicago, and we can all thrive together. I stand before you today deeply optimistic about the future, not because I'm ignorant of the challenges, but because I'm deeply aware of our history. From the Great Chicago Fire, to the Red Summer of 2019, to the 1968 riots, to now the aftermath of pandemic and unrest, our city has faced enormous challenges before, and every challenge has also been hidden within it tremendous opportunity. As history has shown us that when we come together, we show up with the belief of what unites us and how powerful our differences are. And the differences is what makes us the amazing city that we are. There is no limit, Chicago, to what we can achieve when we do it together. And we can, and we will deliver for every single person in the city of Chicago. I say this today with a deep belief and conviction that our best and brighter days are ahead of us. We can lead Chicago to a new era. Together, we can build a better, stronger, safer Chicago. We just have to look deep into the soul of Chicago. Can I get a witness? As Reverend Meek said, are you with me or am I by myself? I'm talking about the soul of Chicago. Whether you live in Jefferson Park or Morgan Park or McKinley Park or Gage Park or in Humboldt Park, I'm talking about a revival in the city of Chicago where the soul of Chicago comes alive. A brand new Chicago is in front of us. I can't wait to continue to lead this city towards a future that generations to come will look back and see the soul of Chicago that has made it possible for posterity. Thank you all. My name is Brandon Johnson, and I am the 57th mayor of the city of Chicago.
To deliver the benediction, please welcome the Reverend Jonathan E. L. Brooks.
Today, we who call God many different names and we who choose not to call on God at all Chicagoans of diverse neighborhoods, races, sexual orientations, and languages, today we do not take for granted this peaceful transfer of power. We are grateful for the past leaders who have renewed our city and for the incoming leaders who are dedicated to the promise of our city's future. We rejoice in Chicago, whose murals open our hearts, whose culture stimulates our minds, whose food delights our palates, diversity inspires our souls, and history deepens our roots. As we conclude this inauguration ceremony, as the mayor stated, may we forever be in awe of all that had to happen in our lives to be here at this moment right now. May we be good stewards of time, money, freedom, and all the other blessings we have received. May we bring compassion to the center of our lives and treat all people, no matter how different, with the reverence they deserve. May we work together for common goals, purposes, and unity in our city. May we recognize that our lives will be measured not by the titles we carry, but by the number of hearts we heal and the lives we transform. May we be vigilant so that we never forget where we came from, nor neglect those we are here to serve. And on this day, as our new mayor, Mayor Brandon Johnson, takes the office of responsibility, this day, we bless Mayor Brandon Johnson and his family as they begin their time of service. We bless the members of our city council, their families, and all who serve our city along with them. Lastly, pour down your blessing upon us all, God. Pour down your blessing upon all Chicagoans so that all can flourish in peace, so that all can flourish in prosperity, so that all can flourish in goodness. May we all walk away with the will and courage to move beyond ourselves and leave our noble mark on our beloved communities, city, nation, and all of the earth. And as I close as a good Baptist preacher, let me say to you, now unto him who is able to keep you from stumbling and to present you before his glorious presence without fault and with great joy, to the only wise God our Savior, be glory, majesty, dominion, and power, both now and forever. And all God's people said, amen.
Now, despite what you just witnessed, I know it feels like a church service, but this is actually an official city council meeting. All right. Alderperson Julia Ramirez on the motion to recess. Alderperson Julia Ramirez has moved that the City Council stand in recess. All those in favor of this motion say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the City Council hereby stands in recess until Wednesday, May 24th, 2023 at 10 a.m.
You are looking at the 57th mayor of the city of Chicago. Hug his wife, Stacy. June, they will celebrate 25 years of marriage. Their 3 children, Owen, Ethan, and Braden. They are about to embark on a new journey, a new story that they get to tell. History, you're looking at it. The first black first lady for the city of Chicago. Mayor Brandon Johnson speaking for 45 minutes to the people of the city, talking about investing in the people who voted for him, saying that his legacy will be built on purpose and possibility because the soul of Chicago is at stake.
That was the theme, the soul of Chicago, and unity, which we expected him to discuss. Already mentioning a few things that got us to sit up in our chairs. First of all, Laura, when he gavelled out there, you said that was the easiest council meeting he's going to have in his career, right? This meeting's adjourned. City Council will be back on May 24th. That's a Wednesday at 10 a.m. The soul of Chicago, Cheryl, like you mentioned, and something I caught from Mayor Johnson, he said right now, philanthropic and business leaders at this hour already meeting about a safety plan for the great city of Chicago.
And that touches on this theme of bringing everybody together and calling everybody in.
is he said, I can't do this alone. We all have to do this together. So he's already been in conversations. We know that with the corporate community, with the philanthropic community, and he's expecting them to step up to help provide some of those summer jobs that he talked about, filling the gap, in particularly between school letting out and park district programs, and stepping up in other ways to help fill the resource gap that he knows he's going to face.
And he mentioned it as soon as Memorial Day weekend, which is coming up about 10 days from now. He said it wasn't calling out people. It was a calling in. And we found it very interesting that he named names. He named specific names, and they know exactly who they are. And he wants to collaborate and work with them to build a stronger, safer, better Chicago.
Right. He listed the city's challenges kind of one by one. Child care, mental health care, homelessness, policing, the immigrant challenges, and then after each one he called people out by first name, some of whom we recognize as leaders, others whom just are neighborhood people probably, and making the point that the entire city needs to be involved in making this city better. It's not just the mayor's job, it's everybody's job.
He mentioned his interim superintendent and said something to the effect of, it's not just up to Fred Waller and his officers, it's up to all of us, really reaching out to family members and all neighborhoods in this city, Laura, saying we all got to come together. If we're going to stop some of the epidemic of gun violence in this great city, we need to come together, and that includes police and people who live in these neighborhoods.
I was really struck by his analogy between where he brought up Adam Toledo, the young man who was fatally shot by a police officer, and then also bringing up at the same time Officer Preston, the officer who was tragically killed last week. And those are two sides of the same coin in his view. And he said those tears are shed. And he's trying to send the message that he's not just here for the police. He's not just here for the community. He wants to bring the police and community together. He also touched on training, police training, which is something that has got discussed, debated quite a bit in the campaign. But again, I think he wants to send the message that he's supportive not only of Fred Waller and his officers, but of what their needs are, their mental health needs, as well as the community's needs.
He spoke about having the same sorrow, the family of Adam Toledo and Ariana Preston, which, by the way, her funeral services will be on Wednesday. The Reverend Dr. Otis Moss will be officiating her services on Wednesday. But David, talk about the to-do list. We need a superintendent, the summer violence. Talk about the Chicago Police Department and the mental health component that Laura was talking about, and how vital and how that could unify a force where there has been some friction. Well,
people sometimes don't realize how big a role mental health plays, both in terms of the source of crime, but also the pressure that police feel, the suicide rate in the Chicago Police Department is high, etc. So you need to attack that problem on both sides. And that's a challenge here with an interim police superintendent as we head into Memorial Day and the summer, where the violent crime tends to be on the rise. This search is underway. We're supposed to have nominees by July, but really it's going to be Fred Waller's job, and all of us, according to this mayor, to try to make the city safer during the summer.
Mayor Johnson, clearly a family man, mentioned his parents and then his late brother Leon, who he said was addicted and unhoused. And we're talking about mental health here for some of our first responders, but the importance of opening mental health facilities for people of Chicago who desperately need them. It's easy to say that. And clearly it's a need, Laura, but how do we get that done? Is it a collaboration within City Hall and private businesses? It's about money. It always seems to be in this city. This is a monumental task.
It's about money. It's about finding the right professionals. We have a dearth of mental health professionals available to us, so it's not simply a matter of just opening up the doors and let them come. But this is something that many in the community have been calling for since Rahm Emanuel shut those mental health clinics down many years ago. And it sounds like what I heard today is he's made an absolute commitment to doing that, and that was something that, you know, that got discussed in the campaign, but he's really nailed it down. And he's going to need, like you said, he's going to need a lot of help. He's going to need corporate help. He's going to need professionals to come forward to help him as well.
And I believe his faith is also going to be a strong component of how he governs the city and how he leads the city. I thought it interesting, the song Total Praise, the words are, "You are the source of my strength, the peace in the storm. Lift my hands in total praise," because he knows that his faith is going to be a big part, and he talked about that. His family, his faith, and his dreams for the city. The Impossible Dream, that song. Yes. Karen Clark Sheard singing awesome. Both of them. And you know the words, to run where the brave dare not to go. That is the impossible dream. And when you heard him speak about his parents, that's who showed up today. The little boy who is the product of those two parents, the father who worked 3 jobs, the mother who died when he was young, who taught him about kindness. All of those things are great, but of course he's going to need a collaboration of a lot of people with one goal of unifying the city with the goal of goodness for all people who live here in this city.
Whether you're a person of faith like he is or not, that performance had us nearly standing up here in the studio. You're handing out mints. We're like in the congregation. Like I said, it doesn't matter.
Church say amen,
yeah. I mean, it was a powerful moment, and clearly he's going to lean on that, like you mentioned, and it's going to be something to witness.
Well, one of his great talents, and you saw that in the campaign, is as a communicator. I think that's one reason why he was elevated so quickly, because he could cut through a lot of the policy issues, a lot of the fray, and get to the point and inspire people. And that comes from being raised by a pastor's son and knowing how to preach. He asked for a witness near the end of that speech. Can I get a witness? And that's what the speech was about. It wasn't going. You knew you weren't going to get a laundry list of all the new things he had planned. He's still working on that, but he wants to inspire Chicago to come together, back to that soul of Chicago, making everyone feel like they're invested in his success.
And he said, I won't ever question your motives and commitments. I'll do my best to bring everybody together. That's easier to say on Inauguration Day than it is day by day when you are the mayor of the city of Chicago. If he's able to maintain that open mind and really take people where they're coming from, if they're coming at it in good faith, he can really do some of the things he's talked about. But the challenges are there. They're very real. He made reference to the fact that people have strong disagreements about the future of the city. If he really can be that collaborative sort of mayor, well, then he's got some potential.
Yeah, David, Laura, we are just thrilled to have you with us again on this journey. You make it easy for us as we reflect on politics here in Chicago. We want to thank you as well, all for joining us today for this historic inauguration of Mayor Brandon Johnson. Our coverage of today's inauguration continues online. We'll have highlights of the mayor's speech and more of Cheryl's one-on-one with him posted on abc7chicago.com, as well as wherever you stream. Our coverage is getting started.
All right, it's a lot going on today. Of course, we've got the mayor's ball and the meet and greet at City Hall as well. As we leave you tonight, take a look at this moment in history. His wife, Stacy, holding the Bible, his 3 children surrounding him. Of course, our complete coverage on Eyewitness News beginning at 4 o'clock. Brandon Johnson, now officially the 57th mayor of the city of Chicago. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you at 4 o'clock, everybody.